Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year to you. This is Scott from Texas Prepper Projects, and today I'm announcing a new video series that I'm going to be working on this year called 52 Weeks of Prepping. If you Google 52 Weeks of Prepping, you'll get all sorts of blog posts and books and calendars, all with a lot of really good ideas in them. Most of them, and I'll link to some of those below because I think they're really good resources in a lot of cases. But what I've seen is week one, buy a jug of water. Week two, buy canned goods. They're really instructions of, buy this if you want to get more prepared. And I don't think that's a bad idea, but I don't think that it's the right solution for everyone. There are 7 billion people on the planet, and there isn't a one size fits all solution for everyone. So, what I would like to do with this series is really get you thinking about preparedness and what is the right fit for you and your family and your situation. I'll give some ideas and some suggestions and some examples of some things that I'm doing to kind of help kickstart you a little bit, but I don't want to give you a checklist of week one buy this, week two buy this, etc., etc., etc. I'm not saying that's bad, and like I said, I'll link to some of those if you are just at a complete and utter loss. But I really want to get you thinking for yourself as to what I need to do for me and my family and my particular situation. And I'll have some challenges in there, and hopefully this will help get you thinking in those right directions and find the solution that works for you. I'm still going to post projects. I still love building things. I've got an experiment literally cooking in the garage right now, so hopefully I'll have something new and fun coming out soon. But I thought I would go ahead and kick off the new year with 52 weeks of prepping. So, lesson one, what am I preparing for? Before you start a journey or a trip, you got to have a destination, right? And that destination might change, but you need to have a goal. You need to have a target. So let's ask a question. I'm going to ask to you out in TV land. What are you preparing for? What keeps you up at night? And I think that's more specific. What keeps you up at night? I spent a lot of time on Reddit, on the Prepper sub forum, and this question comes up about every 2 weeks or so. What are you preparing for? I don't want to discount anyone. What you are afraid of is what you're afraid of. But I'm not afraid of EMPs or CMEs or lots of the things that are out there that people discuss. If that's you, that's fine. That's not me. But ask yourself, what are you preparing for? What is bothering you right now? What keeps you up at night? So I'm going to answer that question. And the answer with that question, you should have a roadmap. How do I sleep better at night once I have identified this fear? What steps do I need to take to try to alleviate the pressure of that particular fear? So there are two main things for me that keep me up at night. Number one is money, financial stability, and expand that to economic downturn, recession, etc. So that bugs me. So there are some very boring steps I can take to alleviate that, which I have over the last couple of years. And then there are some apocalyptic, prepper things you can do. So for money and finances and economic recession, things that I personally have done is I have a fairly healthy savings account, and I try to keep that at a comfortable number. I would always like it to be bigger, but right now I feel okay. If I lost my job tomorrow, I would not be stressing immediately. I made a move a few years ago to a different job that's fairly recession proof. I work for someone that I don't really have a fear of getting laid off. It's certainly not impossible, but I think it's unlikely. Okay, check. And I'm constantly trying to improve myself. I take every training that I can find, if it's paid training, if it's free training, and I'm constantly pushing for promotions and raises and trying to advance myself. So really boring. I get good reviews at work. My boss likes me. I like him. Keeping that relationship and my job stable and healthy and trying to put myself on an upwards trajectory. Check. Really boring and really simple and not at all apocalyptic or doomsday-ish. If you watch TV shows like Doomsday Preppers, which are very entertaining, and I'll kind of leave it at that, there are other steps that I could take that I can't in my current situation. People who really fear a big global recession will often have huge farms in their backyard so they can grow their own food in case all the stores shut down. I'm in a rental house. I can't do that. I also just don't have the physical strength or the capital to expend on, buying a ranch and building a self-sustaining farm and such like that. And I also personally don't think that the world economy is going to collapse tomorrow and North America and the United States is, going to turn into Kosovo or something like that. That is not my level of fear of economic downturn. Not to say that that fear is not valid, but that's not where I am at. So I'm trying to keep my financial situation healthy, my savings are healthy, and keep my career path moving upwards. Really lame, boring stuff, but I don't really fear too much about money. My wife just changed jobs, and so her finances have kind of gone up and down over the last year, but I told her not to sweat it because I'm healthy enough that I can help her ride out through this transition period. Check. Okay. The other thing that keeps me up at night is the utility grid and power grid situation. I obviously live in Texas, and if you've watched the news over the last 2 years, you have heard about the challenges that we have had in Texas with the power grid. So since the 2020 blizzard, I have made steps to improve that situation for me. Again, that's a challenge because I'm in a rental house, so I can't have a whole house generator. I can't cover my roof in solar panels, but I have built solar systems, chest freezers, big battery packs, things like that to keep critical things going in the event that we have another snow apocalypse. We have avoided those so far, but an event happened a couple of weeks ago, which everybody should be paying attention to, which is the terrorism incident in North Carolina, where there was a coordinated attack against the power grid by people who shot out a bunch of transformers and took out power to 50,000 people for a week or so. It's just a matter of time before that happens again. So we have the inadequacy of the Texas power grid to begin with, and now we're going to have copycat events. I'm just waiting for the next power grid intentional attack. So power grid gives me concern. Now, luckily, my solar panels and fans and heaters and chest freezers that I bought after Snowpocalypse dovetails into this quite nicely. There's also pieces like I'm a ham radio operator, I have antennas and friends and communications and things like that. So I'm feeling better about the grid situation, but it's still something that keeps me up at night, and I wish I could afford to buy a house in Austin, Texas, so I could put a generator and solar panels on it and stuff like that. But, maybe one day when I win the Powerball. So money and finances, number one. Number two, grid and utility situation. So those are the things that bother me. Now, again, ask yourself that question: what keeps you up at night? And I have lived in Florida for a couple of years, so I'm not going to say that it's easy, but let's just pose for example. If you live on the coast, hurricanes would be high on my radar. If I lived in California, earthquakes and wildfires would be high on my radar. If I was in the Midwest, tornadoes would be high on my radar. Natural disaster sorts of things. But you really need to kind of ask yourself that question. What keeps you up at night? And that, like I said, that question may change. We're in obviously end of December and January right now, so winter is not quite over yet. My radar will go up when I get into winter season, and then also in the middle of the summer when it's 110 degrees, my radar may change a little bit throughout the seasons, or if there's another security incident, I may perk up a little bit. But again, ask yourself the question: what are you preparing for? So let's try to give a fun example, and I'm going to try to pick it apart a little bit. Zombies. We love to talk about zombies. Zombies are great, and preppers love to talk about zombies. So let's say I am deathly afraid of a zombie invasion. It's World War Z. Awesome book. Read the book. The movie was book was fantastic. Read the book. Fantastic. So let's pretend that I am really afraid of a World War Z type zombie invasion, and I've got 6 months before World War Z happens. So what would I need to do to improve myself and improve my situation for a zombie invasion? Number one answer is guns. It's just the natural, easy answer. So guns, ammo, gun training, weapons training, improving my marksmanship, practicing. And then the dovetail from that is, first aid and medical training, improving my physical security, building a house with big walls around it, like in The Purge, hardening my territory, making myself off-grid sustainable with solar power and my own food, because the world's going to be overrun by zombies. So if I was really, 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 really afraid of zombies, then I would scrape together every penny I had and buy property out in the country and put a big wall around it with barbed wire and spend all the rest of my money on guns and ammunition and wait for the coming horde. We'll just throw that out there as a fun example. So, again, here's your homework assignment for this week: is pluck out a couple of things that keep you up at night. What are things that you want to get prepared for? And I challenge you, write them down. Get you a notebook and write them down. And then over the next year, I'm going to try to give you some little hints to help you sort of thin those out and work on steps that can make you feel a little better on those. So I hope this was fun and interesting, and we'll see you next week for the next one. Thanks.